I'm Harry.
I'm Richard.
You're watching Dead Decks.
Dead Decks. Yeah, buddy. All right, buddy. Yeah. Yes, you are. You almost sounded quasi-professional.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
You're now watching utter bullshit.
I'll take it back.
Welcome.
Yeah. It's talking about cardboard time.
Yeah, something like that.
Sure. Well, what are we talking about?
We're talking about something related to investing in dead CCGs.
Yeah.
Maybe how to do it,
Yeah.
not to do it.
Not to do it. And, if you're going to be investing in the collectible world, I wouldn't make dead CCGs a big part of your portfolio. Let's put it that way. Let's start out with that. I wouldn't make it a big part of your portfolio. Having some exposure, and then we're saying like we fucking know what we're talking about, don't we? If you don't have a little bit of exposure, sure, okay.
I got you a little bit of exposure. Let's pivot this camera down, buddy.
And I don't think it needs to be said, but this is not financial advice, for fuck's sake. It shouldn't need to be said, but maybe for some kind of lawsuit in the future. These two fat fuckers told us from Abu Dhabi told us to fucking buy dead card games, we'd be millionaires. Yeah, you're not gonna be millionaires.
I disagree with Harry. You exclusively invest in, let's see, Flights of Fantasy.
Hyborian Gates.
Hyborian Gates for sure. Battle cards.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing
Wars.
else. Yeah, Wars. Wars is good. Put all your money in there.
No, we were just sitting around talking about the investing side because I've got a little bit of an investment portfolio built up for cardboard
Portfolio.
And I do have a little bit of dead card games in that. It's majority of it, value wise, is Magic and Flesh and Blood and Medicine. Mostly it's Magic, but I think there's a few that you could potentially stock back if you find them at decent prices on the dead card game side. But there's a caveat there. What's that?
It needs to be in a recognizable IP. Is that the caveat?
Yep.
Yeah. That's what we were discussing earlier. Harry brought it up.
Yeah.
Is there anything worth investing in that's dead that isn't tied to an IP? And we were having a really hard time thinking of anything.
Especially when you're talking about adjusted for inflation stuff. Because a lot of this stuff you could pick up back, when it first came out for, what, $50, $60, $70 a box. But if you take it out in today's dollars, you're still talking twice that or more. Probably 2.5 times that at least. So a $60 box would be $150 today's dollars. And off the top of my head, Dark Age back here, it's about what it goes for. Just a booster box is about $150. So at best, it's an inflation hedge, not really growing your money, so to speak.
Yeah, the curve is not. The curve's going to be real slight, if at all.
Yeah.
That we have some games that are from '95 that are far cheaper than they were when they came out.
Yeah, and it's in today's inflated dollars.
Yeah,
and more inflated dollars.
And that's not uncommon. That's pretty common that they're cheaper.
And even on the recognized IP, so for example, Star Trek back here, where it's at, kind of hard to see. I know it's back there somewhere. It's still, even though it's a recognizable IP, it's still cheaper today than it was back then. Now there are some sets that are more expensive because they were much more rare, and especially on the Decipher side, not the Fleer Skybox side. I don't think there's any of that. No, there's only 2 sets. Neither one of those are expensive at all.
No.
Star Wars kind of the same thing, unless you get into the rare sets. So you got to kind of pick and choose if you're gonna pick some of that stuff to add to your portfolio.
Yeah, no, there's some shit you could have made a killing on.
Yeah.
Tied to major IPs, but yeah, original properties. No, nothing that's skyrocketed. If you grab something that winds up intriguing somebody years later, then you could flip it for a lot of money. But it's not going to be an investment curve.
Yeah, you're not going to see them appreciate like Magic.
No,
it does. If you take a Magic set from 10 years ago and looking at today's prices, most cases those are significantly higher than they were when you bought them back then.
Yeah.
There are exceptions. The Hour of Devastation and Dragon's Maze, boxes like that haven't gone up significantly in over 6, 7, 8 years. How long it's been now? but they've still actually gone up, and they will as time goes on. Probably will increase in value. I mean, look at Fallen Empires, the worst set ever fucking made. That's going to cost you $400 a box. We were looking at magazines today where you could have bought that in 1995 for $28.50 a box. So even for adjusting for inflation, you know you've done well if you held on to Fallen Empires for your 30-year time span. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the dead card game world is much more fits and starts and unpredictable. It varies wildly depending on when and who's out there looking at the time you put it on sale. There's not any stable, consistent investment angle to it, really. They don't normally work that way.
Yeah, and you don't have enough market data in a lot of cases to even track a lot of that stuff, especially the stuff that's non-IP. The stuff that is IP, some of that, the really expensive stuff, it's expensive because it's rare. And wheelchair, it doesn't come on the market a whole lot. So, you know, you could have inflated statistics because somebody if one pops up and there's 2 or 3 people that wanted it at one time, and you put up another box 2 weeks later and it sells for
and nobody wants
half of that, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And of course, what you see behind you is, we're not going against our own advice here. This is not for investment. We like this shit.
Yeah.
Buying stuff, you know, because I like it.
And keeping it sealed. And in most cases, at this point in time, not including inflation, you're likely not to lose really any money on anything you buy sealed, just because it's all the stock is out there. There's no more coming or anything like that. It's rare unless you really fuck it up that you would lose any money. Again, not counting for inflation. I can't control that in the future and how that works. But if you spend $40 today, in a couple of years, you probably at least sell that box for $40. You know, you may have to wait a while, and you know, you got to take into consideration fees and all that selling costs. I'm not including that either. So, when you pay taxes when you buy it, and you lose money when you sell it, so you always got to keep that in mind too. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I highly doubt anybody's watching us because they want to invest in dead card games anyway.
Yeah, and that, I wouldn't really recommend it unless you really like the stuff and you like keeping things sealed and looking at it. And I mean, there are a few out there. They're probably, if you can get them cheap enough, as time goes by, they'll only get more rare, and there probably will be some value to them, increased value.
Yeah, now, even though I like looking at all this shit, and a whole lot of this I plan on keeping sealed, there's always a component of investment in CCG stuff anyway. That's just kind of built into the model. Yeah,
that's part of it's where the collectible part in CCG comes from.
I wouldn't believe you if you said if they were completely worthless and guaranteed to always be worthless, you'd still care just for the gameplay. I don't believe you.
No. Yeah, because, I can go to yard sales and get monopolies for $1 a game, because nobody really cares about that, and they're everywhere. I can't go to a yard sale and pick up magic cards for $1.
Yeah.
Even a junk pile of commons is going to cost me more than that,
Yep. Well, shit. What else would we say about that?
I don't know if there's anything else worth saying. I mean, that about covers it, Stick to if you want to invest in this. Well, I'll take it as an example here that's worth mentioning. We're still here and we haven't said fuck off yet. Like Highlander is a pretty big IP, but they printed the absolute shit out of that. I can't imagine that's ever going to be worth a ton of money. Now, maybe 30, 40 years from now, yeah, okay, sure. 10 years, if you're wanting to sell 10 years from now, is it worth the space to use up to store it? I'd say no. So there are IPs out there I would, I'd bet against the entire run, So.
Yeah, not every IP is a home run for sure.
No. Some are just way overprinted, and that's a big issue when you're talking about a limited number of people who want this shit to begin with. So
the thing you can do, I've talked about before, but it's worth mentioning here. Something you can do with dead card games you can't do in other stuff. You can find super rare things for cheap.
Yeah.
There can be one copy of something in the world and it'd be $30. I buy that shit all the time. That's what's populated half my shelves.
And then you'll never see it again.
Yeah, it's gone. It's really rare, but nobody gives a fuck.
It's worth $1 million now because Richard says it is.
I have the only one apparently. So
he's marking his assets to market. His market says it's worth $1 million. So he's a fucking millionaire.
Yeah, that's like Watsy making the TCG price guide.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean that I love that. That excites me that I can actually afford rare, cool, interesting, obscure things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know which video will go up, but we're gonna kind of focus a little series on some of the more obscure, rare stuff. Anyway, we'll show some of that off. So, stick around, or you've already seen it.
yeah. All right. Well, how the fuck we do then?
Good enough.
Yeah, buddy, we did. Get the fuck out of here.